Put your hands together for Shripal, Munshi, founder principal Shripal and Venkat Architects. Mr. Hitesh Agnani, founder at thepropertist.com. Mr. Mehul Parikh, president, CSG Construction Chemicals, Pidilite Industries. Mr. Gaurav Sanghavi, co-founder, Pentaspace Design Studio. Mr. Indrajit, Kembavi architect and partner, Kembavi Architecture Foundation. Aditya Jaiswal, head of architecture and BIM module, Rustamji. Mr. JP Agarwal, director and principal architect, Agrawal and Agrawal Architects.
Good evening, all of you.
Good evening.
And in this series of Build India Vision, we are having this very interesting and a very generic topic, which interests all of us, and that is build what matters, constructing a better everyday for millions. I'll keep my opening remarks as short as possible. I'll wind up in a minute. Then the format that will follow is all of you just speak your thoughts on the topic for about 2 minutes as an opening statement, and then we'll take the questions, and your opinions on that, and then probably we'll open it to the audience if time permits. See, as architects and designers, we are concerned about the quality of life of our fellow citizens, of our users, end users, not only in terms of the architectural quality, not only in terms of the aesthetic appeal that an architect brings in, or value addition that an architect or a designer brings in. We also, apart from that, worried about the quality of spaces, because mostly, if you see, we all spend our entire lifetime either in spaces designed by architects and designers, or public spaces, open spaces, and the cities that we design and cities that we plan. And apart from these two vital aspects which a designer or an architect brings into architecture, which affects the quality of life of its users, we also need to talk of technology, we also need to talk of materials that go into building, we also need to talk about the market forces that are, improve the... We are actually into, what you call, into a race, into a senseless race, which I think where we have imbibed it in our society, I don't know, I'm talking of Indian context, where we have imbibed, I don't know, there's a movement called, I think some of you might be aware, deconstruction, deconstructivism in Europe. I've been associated with that since a long time, been speaking at their conferences as well, as to how, as an architect or a builder or a developer or infrastructure management and construction, how can we, stop this, arrest this race that we all are running after. And the kind of cities that have resulted these days, if you see, all our Indian cities are almost becoming non-livable. And we've seen the examples of Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune now, and so many. We are going in a direction which is actually senseless, And where is this going to end? How is it going to end? How can we arrest this? And we, being architects, planners, designers, and related with the industry, how can we contribute in building a better tomorrow for our users and for our citizens, which will help in, you may have a developed country, you may have a 40 trillion economy, $25 trillion economy, but if the quality of life is not worth living, then what are we doing and what are we building for, So we will take this forward with saying that, rethinking what we build and rethinking how we build. These are two vital issues that we will discuss today. And saying that, I'll just invite one by one, Agarwal, we'll start from that side and just take 2 minutes to give your opening thoughts on it, then we'll take questions. Yeah, we'll start from that side.
Hi, friends. I think basis of learning for an architect always starts from college, but what we learn is what has been done by our predecessors. So whatever we have inherited in last, more than 200 years, that matters to us. And if I remember my college days and I look at the practice today, there's a hell and heaven of a difference. And that difference has occurred because we have witnessed an era of AutoCAD, then what you call parametric design, and now AI. So we have come long way in our visualization process. Earlier we used to visualize more from mind, and our ethics used to rule our mind while we used to imagine. Today, when we imagine on computer, our imagination goes haywire, and our ethics takes backseat. That is what I personally feel. So what matters to us is that are we vocal about what has gone wrong? What has been done wrong by our predecessors till date? What practice, the way you mentioned about the deconstruction? Then I don't say parametric is bad, but at the same time, how far the designs done on parametric are always justified in every condition? That is the big question.
I look at architecture for Rustomji, which is a real estate development firm. So in that view, I think there is a little more that we have on stake when we are looking at what projects come through us. And I think right now, for the opening remark, I think it's important to get a good definition on what we are calling as better tomorrow. And what is better? Is it bigger? Or is it going to come with just quantity, or are you building a qualitative aspect to it? And I think we have to understand, we are talking about life cycles of projects just earlier in the panel. And what we are building today is going to last for a long time. And we really need to be a little more conscious about the kind of legacy we are leaving. And we not just end up building square feet, which looks good in words.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, I am Indrajit Kembavi from Bangalore. I'm the principal architect and partner at Kembavi Architecture Foundation. So I think today's topic is extremely essential and relevant. We all know that India is going to build, I think, maybe 3 Indias in the next 10 or 15 years. So we can see a lot of load coming into the construction sector. We see a lot of good things happening and a lot of bad things happening parallelly. I think the good thing is happening from the private entrepreneurship. There is a mixture of good and bad when it comes to the government in terms of the infrastructure. We feel our bylaws are very outdated and the story is outdated. It's time that we have a comprehensive hand-holding between all the important stakeholders to ensure that we build a livable country, a breathable country, and a country that we love, cherish, enjoy, and have an ease of operation. I think I start with that.
Yeah, Gaurav.
Hello everyone, this is Gaurav Sanghavi from Pentaspace Design Studio. She was just discussing, I think, before the topic came in, that what really matters. I think it's a primary question more than, as an architect, we all kind of really need to kind of seek answers within more than outside, that what really matters to you when you're designing, right? At the moment, I think India is going through this crazy transformation in terms of construction in the length and breadth of the country. But are we losing our neighborhoods is the question we need to ask. Are we creating streetscapes which are more walkable? Are we, there are so many simple questions. If we ask those questions, I think that is what really will matter, and that is how the policies will shape the future. It is, it's the time to ask the right hard questions of what we want to protect in our cities, and no better beginning than this.
Right. Mehul ji.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mehul Parikh here from Pidilite. And, first looking at the topic, what I believe when we say build what matters, I think we first need to understand that what are we building, how are we building it, and whom are we building for? Because what I believe is that we first need to recognize that the building is not the client, it's actually the human being who is living inside that building, and people who are going to use that building. And from that perspective, a few questions that come out is that, when we make buildings that are iconic and obviously aesthetic looking, we want them to be so. But how long are they going to remain aesthetic? How long are they going to retain that whole element of their look? And while they remain, aesthetic looking, we also need to understand, what is the impact on the environment as we are building those buildings. How are we sort of impacting that? And how is this whole functional reliability of the building? How is that efficiency going to stay for decades? Because, unless we do that, we need to solve for all of this, for the millions of people who are actually going to use the building. Today, if you look at Indians, the way we experience, so, if you look at the way we experience design and construction, I'm looking at from a Mumbai perspective, most people will be worried about leakages, for example. So you will find people are, fearful of buying the top floor of a house, of a building, because of the fear of that leakage. You are also then, worried about whether you can use a basement for things other than car park. How can you make it more usable? Because again, you're worried about whether it's going to leak. You're worried about hot and uncomfortable, houses and offices because they're probably not as well insulated or ventilated as they should be. You are also then worried about interior, finishes getting spoiled because of damp walls. You are also worried also about, the fact that whether drainage in terms of the groundwater and the whole water supply, drainage, all of it, how well has it been accounted for during construction? Because we are seeing that the groundwater movement, the way we are disrupting it, the way we are constructing things, it's obviously impacting urban flooding. So these are some questions that come about, and why they are coming about is because India's climate is going through a lot of change, and we are experiencing it. We experienced November rain most recently, and I was part of a sort of a climate report launch that was done by Deloitte a couple of months ago. And what came out in terms of some shocking numbers was that if you look at India, okay, we're not talking about the world here, India itself has experienced 1.4x times more intense or extreme rainfall events in just the last 5 years. And on the other spectrum of it, from the heat point of view, in the last 3 decades, we've seen 15-fold increase in extreme heat days across India. And finally, to top it all off, our air pollution, we are third, in the world in terms of how bad it is. We only have our illustrious neighbors, Pakistan and Bangladesh, who are ahead of us in that race. So when we look at, all of this, that's where I think the questions come, that how do the Indians experience, the whole construction process, and what can we do? So we obviously will need to make structures that are in sync with the climate today, in sync with the fact that we have erratic monsoons, we have extreme heat, and all of this has to be built in terms of how the users are going to maintain that, comfort element while structures remain durable and functional all throughout. So that's my perspective in terms of, build what matters as to how we should approach it.
Yeah, Sunil.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm architect Sunil Patil from Pune. Build what matters is an interesting subject, but I think how much you build, that really matters. And for that, I would like to just take you to a different perspective. You will have to think from macro level to micro level, because it's very unfortunate that in India, we architects and urban designers are not involved in the city planning. As you know that development plan of a city is just rather than a design, it's just a technical document prepared by engineering department of any corporation. And we're also not involved in making bylaws. And see, recently in government of Maharashtra, and not just recently, but 2 years back, they have come up with this UDCR, that Uniform Development Control Rules, by where except Mumbai, rest of the cities in Maharashtra have the same bylaws, okay? And while doing that, what they have done, already in Maharashtra, in most of the cities, already have good FSI, and plus we have something like TDR, which again adds to the permissible built-up area. And on top of that, now they have given something like ancillary area, which is 60% for residential, 80% for commercial. So that really increases permissible area to the extent that occupant load goes up by almost 250 times, 25 times more. Like if someone could build 1 lakh square feet on the plot, now on the same plot, he can build 2.5 lakh square feet. So the occupant load has gone up so much in many such 2-tier, 3-tier cities, and our infrastructure is not upgraded. Your roads are not upgraded. Our drainage system is not upgraded. So that has caused a lot of problems, even now in smaller cities. You don't have to refer to Mumbai and Pune when it comes to congestion. Now cities like even Kolhapur, Satara, Solapur, all the streets are highly congested. There are traffic problems, and because of this. So I think we should be involved at macro level while planning these bylaws, so that, and if you later on when we discuss, you'll come to know that the root cause of all that is this occupant load and congestion in the cities. And then when you come to micro level, when you design an independent structure, then we all are burdened with that, because market is mostly influenced by the market forces when we are doing builders project, and then the designer has to really do a circus to accommodate, because of course no builder would like to give up some areas. He is also a burden to accommodate that much of permissible built up, and that has created a lot of problems, and that is what really hampers our healthy planning.
Yeah, hi. I'm Hitesh Agnani. I'm the founder of theproperties.com. I am not an architect. I am coming from a marketing background. I lead a PropTech platform, which is more into marketing of real estate. So I'll bring my perspective on consumer behavior and what exactly people are looking for when it comes to construction, when it comes to residential and commercial real estate that is being built. So I'll bring my perspective. It's been more than a decade that I've been, leading this organization. I've been a founder of this organization, and I've seen different cycles of real estate, pre-COVID, post-COVID, how consumer behavior has changed, and how people were, not really concerned about construction quality. They were not really bothered about whether the product will get delivered. So pre-COVID, they, were more concerned about, what the price point is. And post-COVID, what we've seen is people really want to see the proof. Earlier, they bought promises, right? The promise of, we'll construct a building and we'll get it in the next 3 years. But now they move beyond that. And now they want, what they really want is proof. And that comes from transparency. That comes from the credibility that they build. And what really I believe that, a consumer needs is now they've started thinking beyond fancy amenities, right, that were being built and marketed. Now they want quality construction. They want tight delivery timelines. They want penalties if the delivery timeline is not met. And, they want more transparency overall is what we have noticed right now. So that is something that the industry really needs to work towards, is being more transparent towards consumers. Whatever you're building, right, you will eventually sell that to someone. And that person is putting their hard-earned money. And we really believe that transparency is going to be the future of this industry, of whatever you build, right? If you're being transparent to your consumer, that is really going to define how things move forward.
Hi, good afternoon. Lovely to be back here at FOAID Build India. I'm Shripal Munshi from Shripal and Venkat Architects. Just to begin with, we in India right now are at probably the most important decade. 1.3, 1.4 billion people, crazy amount of real estate under construction, foreign exchange coming in at an unprecedented rate, political system at its most stable, relatively speaking, which actually presents a double-edged opportunity or a double-edged sword, depending on which way you look at it. I feel, and traversing India up and down through our various projects, the current scenario virtually makes people feel and live multiple lifetimes all compressed into one. Whatever your aspirations are, whatever your ambitions are, whatever your aims are, they all seem to be happening in a simultaneous multiverse like a Chris Nolan film. And it's just crazy. Now, very intimidating and very daunting. And at the same time, the opportunities are enormous. Because if you can decode this anarchy and if you can decode this chaos, apparent chaos, there is a global south urbanism lying in this, which works in a democratic fashion, and which will only be successful in a democracy and not in an authoritarian. And I'm speaking from living in Hong Kong for more than 15 years before coming back to India. And I saw how Shenzhen developed from nothing because of a government diktat. it produced results, but then it came at a huge cost, which no one knows.